is a three-part live pertaining to the mess out in Uvalde. Parents have come forward to speak to the school board. One of the fathers has spoken, the father of little Jackie, who perished in the massacre at the Robb Elementary School. I'm going to play you commentary pertaining to their thoughts and feelings about the loss of their children, the vile behavior of Aaron Dondo, the chief of police. As most of you know, he's been put on paid leave. I will play you commentary to that. I also will bring you commentary pertaining to the Laundries and the Petito case, where it's going, if they will have to testify in court in a civil lawsuit brought by the Petito family. And the last commentary will be pertaining to Cal City. I said I wasn't going to say anything about the lawsuit brought by the bio donor, but something I meant to mention in my live last night pertaining to the grandparents. Where have you all been since this fiasco started with the children being reported missing, a false report coming out of Cal City? Where have you been? Where were you when the children needed a place? And why aren't you there for your current grandchildren by Ryan Dean? I'm going to talk about that, yes, because that was one of the source's questions. Where are the grandparents for the two living children that remain, that everybody is so oblivious to, as if they don't exist? We're going to chop that up. This is a three-part live. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Laundrie family attorney has no regrets handling Petito case. This is News Nation.
Welcome back. It was one of the most followed murder investigations of 2021. And despite the fact that the only suspect in the case, the man who confessed to the killing, is himself now dead, the victim's family is still trying to get their day in court. Speaking, of course, of the Gabby Petito-Brian Laundrie case. Petito's parents are now suing Laundrie's parents. They say the Laundries knew Gabby was dead the whole time, but instead of telling them or the authorities the truth, they helped their son cover up the murder and plan to flee the country. That's what the lawsuit says. The Laundries say they didn't know, they had no obligation to speak, and the Petito's lawsuit is groundless. Representatives of both families were in court today, and a judge will decide whether the suit goes to trial or whether it goes away. In the meantime, I am joined by someone who at the very, very center of this case, the Laundrie family attorney, Stephen Bertolino, joins us tonight. Mr. Bertolino, thank you for being here. The first thing I want to ask you is, in this lawsuit, it says in black and white that the Laundries knew that Gabby Petito was dead while this search was happening and that they didn't tell anyone, but that they knew. Did the Laundries know that Gabby Petito was dead during that time?
Well, good evening, Brian. It's good to speak with you again. What I can tell you is, with respect to the motion to dismiss that we filed, we have to deem all of the allegations contained in the complaint as true. So for purposes of what happened today in the hearing, the judge has to assume that those allegations are true. What Chris and Roberta knew and what I knew at that time, is not for me to speak of right now, because it's the crux of the lawsuit that's pending right now, and it wouldn't be appropriate for me to comment. However, on the aspect of the motion to dismiss, assuming all of those allegations are true, it doesn't really make much of a difference. What I knew or what Chris and Roberta knew, we did not have to disclose to any third party, and specifically to law enforcement or the Petito family.
And I understand what you're saying, Mr. Bertolino. In the hearing today, the way the law works, it has to be assumed that everything in the lawsuit is true. But I was out there. People were searching. You had law enforcement all over the country. I mean, you know how this case was. You had the entire country searching for Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie at one point. And it sounds like you will not deny that the Laundries knew, that they knew something.
What I had said months ago, Brian, was that I don't know exactly what Brian had said to his parents. I had said publicly, perhaps even on this particular show, that what Brian told me was privileged. I was not going to share it. I had conversations with Brian. I had conversations with Chris and Roberta. I had conversations with them separately, and I had conversations with them together. So it's not for me to comment at this point in time what Chris and Roberta knew. I can tell you what I knew. I can maybe perhaps someday tell you what Brian knew. but none of that's going to happen tonight on this show.
Yeah, you've said that in the past that someday the truth will come out. Obviously, there is a lawsuit pending, but in that lawsuit, I've got to ask you, because it says these things in the lawsuit, it also says that the Laundries, your clients, were planning to get Brian out of the country. Was that plan, in fact, happening behind the scenes?
Yeah, well, I think that all of that speculation came from the legal experts and the pundits that were on 24-hour news shows that had to fill in some time. And what better way to fill into time than make stuff up? So, in reality, you think about what happened, Brian, you were there. Chris and Roberta did nothing but stay in their home. There was speculation that they were burner phones, that we were dressing him up in funny outfits and sending him across the Mexican border, sending him across certain bodies of water to other countries in the Bahamas, or perhaps out on the Appalachian Trail. All of that was just, fill-in work for the networks that had to fill in some time 24/7.
You mentioned that I was there. I was outside the house for a long time watching your clients come and go, along with a lot of other media. And when Brian Laundrie was missing, one thing that always struck me was that Chris and Roberta didn't seem especially emotional. They weren't pleading with the media to help find him. And once he was located by them and we learned that he committed suicide, I've always wondered, Mr. Bertolino, did his parents know that he committed suicide? Did they know all of that time, and that is why they didn't appear so emotional, and that is why they didn't, come out to the media and beg for help?
Well, Brian, what I've said in the past is, rhetorically, what did people expect him to do? They knew Brian went into the preserve. I said at one point that he left, he was distraught. I made mention that, Chris said to me, he wished he could have prevented Brian from going, but he knew he couldn't stop him. They were concerned about their son's well-being when he went hiking in the preserve and when he was home the entire time. With that being said, they were somber, they were quiet, and I can tell you they were very upset and very emotional with me. But when you've got a gaggle of press and screaming public out at your door 24 hours a day, did you think that Brian and Roberta were going to go down to Walmart and start putting up signs, help me find my son? They knew where their son was. They knew where he went. We said it. And as it turns out, unfortunately, we were correct. Brian never left the preserve. And I certainly think law enforcement knew that all along as well. And that's why, some people in the press and the public question whether Chris and Roberta should have done more. But what more could they have really done when you had all that law enforcement manpower searching?
Well, let me interrupt you, Mr. Berlino. You're saying what more could they have done? But I mean, just honestly, it seems like they really did nothing. They stayed in the house. Their son was missing. Gabby was missing. Their son's fiance. They didn't really do anything at all, did they?
Well, again, you tell me, Brian, what should they have done? Did you want them to go to Walmart and hang up a sign? The entire country.
Couldn't they have come outside and pleaded? Couldn't they have come outside and pleaded with the world? If you know where Gabby is, come forward. If you know where Brian is, come forward. Why couldn't they have done that?
Well, I think you just misspoke, and I know you corrected yourself and saying, where could you tell us where Brian is? They knew where Brian was. It wasn't a question. The only people that were speculating that Brian was somewhere other than the preserve was the press and the public. So what is the point in pleading something when you know the answer?
Let me ask you this, Mr. Bertolino. You've obviously been giving the Laundrie's legal advice through this whole process. A lot of people would say, from a legal perspective, you've given them very good advice because they haven't been in trouble so far, in any sort of criminal trouble, and you've kept them out of trouble. But do you have any regrets, along the way? Do you think you should have had them talk to the media or perhaps seem a little more human, even though you protected them legally? Do you think you made any mistakes along the way, since now they are really in many ways just, it seems like hated by the world?
People buy.
Sorry about that. Intermission.
Hated is one word, vilified is another. But in the end, Brian, you asked a very good question. It's emotional for me. It's emotional for Chris and Roberta because we are friends. They did lose a child. They lost a young man that I knew since he was born. And yeah, that's upsetting. But I'll tell you what I told the FBI when they left my office the last day and said, well, Brian's dead now. And I told them, look at me. I did everything the right way. We have no regrets. The parents did everything the right way, and they have no regrets. Brian, what you have to understand is that Brian Laundrie was a grown man. He was a young man, but he made his decisions, and we had to abide, especially myself as his attorney at that time. We had to abide, and I had to abide by the decisions that Brian was making. And with that in mind, we made every possible step that we thought was good at the time with the consultation of Brian involved in that. And there were some things that we certainly can look back and say, what if? And Chris and Roberta and I had that conversation just today after this hearing. And I had to remind them of certain situations and certain conversations that were had. And we all circled back to, yes, we are very comfortable with the decisions we made. We're not happy that Brian is gone. We're not happy that Gabby is gone, but I don't think we could have prevented either one of those.
Do Chris and Roberta want to speak out at some point? I mean, when this civil lawsuit is over, at some point, do they want to share their story?
The answer to that is they were close. I mean, there was a long time they were angry. They were angry for many reasons. They were angry for the people outside of their home. They were angry for people not understanding that this was not their doing, that they lost a child, that they're suffering too. They were, lightening up a little bit from that anger perspective. And, there may have been a point in time where communications could have had taken place. And now we're back into, we'll say, round 2 or round 3 with the Petito family. And somebody asked me earlier on a program, if there was a sit down, a 4-way, if you will, of the two families, could this be resolved? And my response to that was, the only thing that the Petito family has done as far as communication is thrown out Twitters and thrown out letters to the public. Not once.
I mean, but come on, Mr. Bertolino, for you to, listen, we're not going to go after the Petitos. I mean, come on. I mean, we know what they've gone through.
You're asking me.
We're not, yeah.
You're asking me, Brian, you're asking me
but they can tweet what they want.
Resolution, could there be conversations? There has never been an olive branch reached out to our side. The only thing that's been out.
But why is it that, I mean, their daughter was murdered by their son. Their daughter was murdered by the Laundrie son. Why would they be the ones to put out an olive branch? I mean, I think we're just going to disagree on that point. But Mr. Bertolino, as always, I appreciate your time and I thank you for coming on tonight.
My pleasure, Brian. Thank you for having me.
Okay, now.
Let me see if he has anything else to say about that.
I want to bring in the person working on the other side of the courtroom. Patrick Riley is representing the Petito family. He joins us now tonight. First of all, Mr. Riley, watching the hearing today, I think what struck me the most was looking at Gabby's parents, Gabby's mom clutching a necklace that had Gabby's ashes inside. I mean, I think everyone just feels for them. Can you explain what they want to get out of this lawsuit?
Well, first of all, I'll say it's really an interesting position to say that the olive branch wasn't reached out and they should talk. That's absurd. The time for the Laundries to talk was last year when Gabby was missing. But what they want to accomplish from this is they want the court, a jury. They want to present this case to a jury and have a jury tell the Laundrie family what they did was wrong.
Yes.
What they did was harmful to Joe and to Nicole, and that they have to pay for that.
Some of the allegations in your lawsuit, Mr. Riley, are pretty explosive. That Brian told his parents that he killed Gabby early on, and even when the search was happening, that the Laundries knew. But there hasn't been any proof to back that up. Do you have the proof to back that up?
Well, the proof. This isn't the time for the proof because it's a motion to dismiss. But yes, we have the proof. And I think.
Can you tell us anything now? I mean, because.
Well, you can look at the allegations of the complaint, and circumstantial evidence is as strong as direct evidence. The belief is that Gabby was killed on August 27th of 2021. The very next day, Brian Laundrie contacted his parents, and the minute his parents got off the phone with Brian Laundrie, they contacted Attorney Bertolino. Circumstantially, what does that tell you? That tells you Brian must have told them something that was concerning enough that they had to call an attorney to have a conversation. And we know that the FBI did a significant investigation in this case, and we will produce the evidence when the time comes.
Right, and we know that the Petitos have met with the FBI, and there's certainly a lot that we don't know that the family, and I'm assuming you also know. But at the end of the day, I mean, ethically, I think most people could agree they can't understand how could the Laundries be so close to the Petitos and allow them to go through this and not even reach out to them during that time. But I mean, legally speaking, don't we all have the right to just stay silent in situations? I mean, can't we all just decide not to say anything? Isn't that their legal right?
Well, if we were in a court of morality, which unfortunately we're not, this would be a really easy decision. But to focus simply on the fact that they remain silent ignores all of the other proof in this case that leads to our claim for intentional infliction of emotional distress. It wasn't just remaining silent.
Exactly.
It was going on vacation.
Exactly.
Basically thumbing their nose at the Petito family saying, we know Gabby's not here, but Brian's back. And by the way, Brian drove Gabby's van back.
Yes, say that.
We're not going to talk to you. We're going to go on with our life as though nothing happened. And we're going to go on vacation with our family to DeSoto Park. And they took other trips that I believe will be shown in the future with Brian. Then they, because Nicole Schmidt was trying to get a hold of Roberta to find out any information she could possibly find out about Gabby and where Gabby might be, Roberta blocked her on her cell phone, so she couldn't call her any longer, couldn't text her any longer. Wow. And the Laundrie family was the only source that the Petitos could turn to say, hey, where's Gabby? Where is your son's fiance? She blocked it. And then later on, that statement was issued by Attorney Bertolino. And what's the significance of that statement that's issued by Attorney Bertolino? When they decided to speak, when they decided to break their silence, they did that at a time that they knew that Gabby was dead. They knew where her body was located. They knew that the Petito family was grieving and was desperately seeking any information they could get to find their daughter, Gabby. And what does Attorney Bertolino say? With that knowledge that she's dead, with that knowledge that she won't be found alive, they say, we hope you are successful in finding Gabby and the family is reunited.
Right.
They gave false hope to the Petito.
Right, and it was, I mean, I do get the feeling, Mr. Riley, a lot of these statements were very, very carefully worded by Mr. Bertolino. I want to ask you really quickly, if the judge does decide to dismiss the lawsuit, where does this go from here? Will we get some of this information? Will we get answers? Is there another avenue, or is that the end?
Well, if the judge dismisses it, we may appeal it. We'll have to talk about what our options are, but certainly a freedom of information request could be made for the information that the FBI has, and it will be eye-opening.
Yeah, and we've tried that. You know how it is. I mean, you obviously have the information, but from a media perspective, sometimes with the FBI can take years. But we hope to get all that information. We really do. Patrick Riley, really appreciate your time. I watched you in court today. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching.
Mr. Enton doing his job and doing it very, very well. Thank you, sir. Let's chop up what was said. In this commentary, you hear Mr. Enton talking to Mr. Bertolino, a utter fool and clown. And the last person speaking is the attorney for the Petito family. Mr. Bertolino, you are absolutely just ignorant. And you're vile just like your clients. And this is usually what happens with people who are defense attorneys and people who represent others who have no empathy. And as Mr. Enton says, their words were carefully used. Of course they were, because they wanted to make sure they didn't say anything that would allude to the fact they had knowledge thereof about the girl being deceased. What did Brian tell his family when he returned? Did he tell them the truth? Did he tell them the truth that he murdered her and where she could be found? What did he tell the lawyer? Will the lawyer ever tell the truth pertaining to what Brian told him? There's a confidentiality clause naturally between attorney and a client, so I doubt that he'll ever tell anything. He possibly could because the client is now deceased, but we will see. You said in this commentary, Mr. Bertolino, that they had concern for him, Brian. Where was the concern for their son? If you thought for 1 minute that your child killed the girlfriend or something went awry out west, you should have called authorities and told them, my son is here without the girlfriend. He brought back her van, and we believe something happened between the two, and we need to bring him in. He needs to talk to you all. You all should have had the law officials at that house as soon as you saw him pull up in that girl's van without her. So what did he tell his family? This is BS, and you know it. Where was the concern for the Petito family? They're calling you. You're not answering. Roberta, you're dirty. Blocking that woman, Miss Nicole. You blocked her because you knew better. A decent human wouldn't block her. Even if you took the fifth, whatever, you still could have told her, look, we've got an attorney. We can't say anything. And as they said in this commentary, Mr. Inton, why hire an attorney? Mr. Inton, not Mr. Inton, but their attorney says in this commentary. That shows guilt. You know something. Why would you go get an attorney? And then some people would say, well, if he was dead, they wouldn't go get an attorney for a dead person. Well, they'd go get an attorney if they think somebody might want to come after them and sue them. So see, it was up in the air back then when the attorney got involved. You didn't know if the boy was alive, if he was dead. Because your logic is telling you, you don't go get an attorney for a dead person. So perhaps he was alive and then later killed himself. But see, the thing is about this storyline is they're never going to tell you the truth of what actually happened in the conversation between them and the son when he returned. You cut off the Petitos. You didn't plead for the daughter, and yet this girl lived in your house. Why not? Because that goes to show, as he said, circumstantial assumptions. You knew something. You proved that you knew something when, one, you cut off contacts with the Petitos, the family members. You went and hired an attorney, and you played possum thereafter. The show's just cause. And as they said, circumstantial weighs higher in civil suits than a criminal court. Amen. You had no regard for these people. It's so obvious. You had no regard for the dead girl or her parents and family. So, Mr. Bertolino, you basically admitted in this commentary that you and them knew the girl was dead. Because you said, why are they going to admit to something that they already knew? So, what are you saying? Are you speaking for what they knew about Brian? That they knew he was dead? That he walked out in them woods and killed himself? Did he tell his family he's going to kill himself? Hey, Mom, don't worry about where I am. Don't worry, Dad, where I am. Hey, sis, don't worry about where I am. I'm going out into the middle of the forest, and I'm going to shoot myself. And oh, yeah, by the way, I did kill my girlfriend. This is ridiculous. They don't have to speak because they already knew where he was. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got a feeling they knew where he was, and they also knew that the girl was dead at the same time. You hear in this commentary that they had no regrets, and Mr. Bertolino had no regrets on how they handled the case and them lying quiet during this. See, you all don't have any regrets because you don't have any empathy. You don't have anything inside of you. This is an appropriate way to handle a situation such as this. These people are wondering where their child is. Your son dated their child. They lived together and in your house, and they went on a road trip from the East Coast to the West Coast. He comes back in her van, and you all don't have anything to say to them, anybody. So what the hell did you even tell the police? Because the police had to come by, the FBI. So let me ask you all that, dirty laundries. What did you all tell the FBI police pertaining to what happened out there? Did you allude to the fact that you knew something or no? Because you didn't talk to the Petito family, so what did you tell law enforcement? Or did you even talk to them? Did you also plead the fifth with them as well? I can't speak to you. We have an attorney. Like we said, the fact that you hired an attorney tells us everything. You had no intentions of talking and telling anything about your son, Gabby, nothing. And that flying back and forth he did to Florida, back out west, to me shows that this could have been premeditated. Because there's nothing that was important in a storage unit worth flying all the way back to Florida, then coming back. And then woof, voila, he comes back again without the girlfriend. So what the hell was so important in that damn storage unit? Locker, whatever you want to call it. Why you all couldn't have taken care of it while they were out of town. See, I always said there was something off with the plane trip. Because it makes no logical sense to go halfway around the world for some stupid stuff in a storage locker. If you felt it was so important to retain what was in there, get rid of what was in there, put something in there, whatever version you want to give, why didn't you and Gabby go back to Florida in your trip? Because obviously the trip was not going well. Ding, 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 bingo card. It went terribly wrong. So why didn't Brian go back to Florida in the van with Gabby? See, I asked all the pertinent questions because this version never made sense. And even though it's been verified on several news agents that he did fly to and fro, but it's not logical to fly that far away just because you left something in storage or you're going to put something in storage. You're trying to retrieve something from storage. It's bogus. There's more to this story. And we'll never know now because the man's dead. The fact that you all stopped speaking to the Petito speaks volumes. No regard for others. No regard for Gabby Petito, her life, livelihood, or her parents. And this young lady lived with you all. Very bold and brazen. There's really no words for your behavior. Because you've shown, even in death, you had no respect, present tense, you have no respect for her or her family. So now one would have to question, how did you treat Gabby Petito when she was living? Because I always say that to people, and that's really an old saying. If they don't have regard for you when you're dead, hell, you couldn't have liked them when they were living. Come on, Queen, bring it to them. They are very comfortable with the decisions that were made. This is what their lawyer's saying, Mr. Bertolino. Myself and them, very comfortable. I guess you are comfortable. Because as Mr. Enton said, they ain't done a damn thing. It was asked, do they want to speak? And you said, Mr. Bertolino, they were close, but they were angry because everybody outside camped outside their house, blah, blah, blah. What the hell are you talking about? Yeah. It was wrong for people to be harassing them, harassing the sister. I don't condone that type of behavior because you can't blame people for what another person has done or what you think they have done. But nonetheless, your obligation should have been, as they said in his commentary, moral obligation would be to have talked to the Petitos directly. You hiring a lawyer showed you knew something. And you really, us outsiders don't know what was what, who was dead, who was alive. We weren't supposed to know. We're just watching the story unfold on the news. And as I said, I don't condone harassing people, standing outside their house, hooping and hollering and disturbing the peace because there were other people that lived in the neighborhood. And that was very disrespectful to be out there hooping and hollering, putting laundry baskets all on the lawn. You're still disturbing the peace with other residents. And a lot of you didn't understand that. And possibly you're not a homeowner, so you can't understand it. It was disrupting peace. And those people paid for their houses, renting their houses, mortgages, taxes. And they didn't sign up for Brian Laundrie's mess. They didn't sign up for Brian Laundrie's mess. And as I said, nobody knew where he was and what was going on between he and the decedent. Nobody even knew that she was dead. So as I said, what the hell were they angry about? Nobody knew anything. Mr. Enton asked how this could have been resolved between the two families. But as I said, how could it have been resolved when these people played silent and hired an attorney? You showed from the very beginning you had knowledge of something, a guilty conscience, something by hiring an attorney, blocking Miss Nicole, Miss Roberta. So you showed that there never could have been an Olive Branch reached out to you. Olive Branch was reached out when she called you to ask you about her damn child. Sorry about that. When she reached out to you about her child, hey, what do you know? Hey, what is your son saying? Hey. You cut her off. You blocked her from social media as well. So once again, in the court of opinions, you are Val. You all knew something. And even if you didn't know something, such as your son killing her, why would you cut these people off? They're trying to find their child. That's their child. So nobody wants to hear this BS about you all in mourning. You found out your son was dead. Man, you cut that woman off day one. Soon as the news got a hold of the story, this woman pleading to the public, her ex-husband pleading to the public about the child, girl child, boom. You all heard and went and got you an attorney. So to cry this BS about, oh, they lost her son, and hey, you had your son and he chose to kill himself. That was his choice. He chose to kill that girl out there and leave her for dead. He took her van across state lines, brought it back without her. We don't know what he told you all, what he told the lawyer, but the point is you went and hired that lawyer while he was living. And the lawyer is not telling us what he told him. Maybe one day, but this all shows just cause. All of you all in cahoots together like a bunch of rats scurrying around in a circle while that girl lay dead out there, baking in the sun. Where was the regard for Gabby Petito? There was none. And you proved that. You proved that. So nobody wants to hear this mess about they mourning. Nobody cared about them camping out on their front lawn and, oh, they lost their son. We don't know what you knew. We don't know if that stupid ass boy told you he was going to kill himself and you just played the role and waited for people to find him, waited for law enforcement to find him. And you're sitting up here, Mr. Bertolino, like a bald-headed fool talking about, well, they knew where he was. He went in the forest. They knew where he was. You really act like you know that they knew he went in there to kill himself. See, you are really a bigger fool than the Laundries because you're talking in circles, but yet really I think you're telling on yourself. See, sometimes old saying, best just be quiet because you're really saying they knew he went out there to kill himself. You just said, what are they going to plead for? They already knew the information. So what are you speaking of? You can't be speaking about Gabby. She's already dead. So what information did they already know for them not to have to plead? The question was, why didn't they plead for Gabby? Why didn't they plead to the public about Gabby? Your son's girlfriend, the girl lived with you. He comes back. The story breaks all around the world, and you all have nothing to say to the public about a young lady that stayed in your house. Mr. Berlin, you shouldn't be talking. Obviously, you didn't learn anything in law school. Because you just didn't know. You don't know that you just told on yourself and told on your clients. You're a dodo bird. Olive Branch. Nobody reached out to me. Nobody reached out. Who are you for somebody to be reaching out to you? You're the attorney. You're the mouthpiece, parakeet. Once again, when the woman reached out to the family about the whereabouts of her child, that was her olive branch. They hired an attorney and they stopped talking. What kind of olive branch would they be extending when they've been blocked by cell phone, social media, and these people hired an attorney which told them not to talk? You, Mr. Bertolino, told them not to talk. So therefore, you sound stupid saying nobody reached out to you or reached out to them. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You didn't make it possible for them to talk to you. And you weren't going to say anything because you're representing them and the son. So you couldn't tell them anything anyway, not what they wanted to hear, such as, where the hell is my child? Will you nimwits tell me where my baby is? Hell no. You weren't going to say nothing, and they didn't either. So that leads us to believe, hell yeah, they knew the girl was dead, and hell yeah, they knew he killed her, and hell yeah, they knew he was going out in that forest to end it. That's possibly what that hoorah was out there in the forest before he walked out with his backpack. Come on, mom, dad, sissy, let's all get together, roast marshmallows one last time. And I know it sounds macabre, but you do have very sick and ill people who will just tell a person, hey, I'm going to end it. I've done wrong. But let's just say he did tell him he's going to kill himself. How in the world could you sit out there in the fucking forest singing Kumbaya knowing your child's going to kill him damn self? The sister, you'd have to be crazy too. But I think they left her in the dark. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the sister didn't really know what was going on because they wanted to make sure nobody would leak anything, tell anything, and the sister might have been the weakest link. I don't think they told her. He killed the girl and then he was going to kill himself. But I got a weird feeling those people knew what happened out there and that their son was going to kill themselves. I could be wrong. But at this point, nothing surprises me due to their lack of emotion, regard, and empathy for Gabby Petito and her family. Mr. Enton tells you that the parents looked heartbroken in court. I agree. I saw a brief video of the mom. She looks broken. Miss Nicole looks broken, as she should be. That's her child. She gave birth to her. She loved her daughter. Now her daughter is no longer alive, killed by a boyfriend, callously left her out for the animals to have their way with her, and had the audacity to bring her van back and say nothing to law enforcement that he took her life. He could have turned himself in out there and did the right thing. Instead, he took the coward's way, not only by killing her, but to drive her van back and play possum and say nothing, and then go off into the forest and kill himself and leaving behind information that he was the culprit. How convenient. Oh, mercy. Mr. Enton asks the attorney, what do they want to get out of this, the Petito family? And he answers, they want the jury to give a verdict that the family was wrong for how they treated the Petitos. They need to pay for that. They wronged the family. They wronged everybody. And although we know these people don't have any money, they won't get any type of lump sum because, they're not suing like the state or a corporation. But they want a jury of peers to say how you handled the situation pertaining to your son and Gabby was vile. Your behavior now is still vile. You showed no regard or empathy for this young lady or her parents. And I'm sure they're hoping the 12 members will say, yay, we agree with you. They owe you an apology. They owe you said monies for causing you distress in knowing that the son killed their daughter and you all hid the truth. Proof was asked about in this commentary. What proof do the Petitos have? The lawyer said it's not time to reveal it. But yes, they do have something, alluding to the fact that the parents had knowledge, the Laundries, that the child was dead. He says when the time comes, it will be revealed. That said proof. What is the proof? What proof does the family have that the Laundries, knew that their son murdered their child? The fact that they were so close to the Petitos, the Laundries, and yet let them go around scurrying, racking their brains, wondering where their child was, when possibly they knew she was dead. Because they had to have asked him, hey, where is she? Why are you here without her? Why do you have her van? So you had to suspect he done something to her. She's not just going to leave her van that she pays money for and then disappear and leave it with your son. And yet she didn't call you all to say anything to you all. She's not calling him, and he's not talking about her or speaking about her. I wonder if he even gave a made-up story. Oh, she's mad, she did, she ran off, she left me the van. Who's to say? Because like I said, who's going to tell you the truth about what Brian Laundrie said to his parents? We will possibly never know the truth. Because why would they want to tell us the truth? They've already played possum, hiring an attorney, so you can't expect them to tell the truth now. The fact that they went on vacation, that was mentioned in this commentary, several vacations since all this mess started. As I said, he brought the van back. That was proof something wasn't right. So did they take more trips after the fact? Son killed himself. Where else did they go while this mess was unraveling in front of the nation? Very sick. They have some type of knowledge. And I'm looking forward to see what the Petitos have on this, in this case, pertaining to the knowledge that they have. And as I said, if it's just speculation, who cares? This is a civil suit. Doesn't really matter. Thank you, baby. Baby Yoda, the trucker. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you all so much. Hello, cat lady. Didn't mean to not address you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you all that's in the chat. These people have vowed to me, and whether they knew that Gabby was dead, whether they knew that Brian killed her, whether they knew he was going to take his own life, you have to start at the very beginning, which is he returned without the young lady with the van. That's all. That's good enough for me. When he returned with the van, you should have called law officials and told them the young lady was living here with us. She went on a trip with my son. He is now back without her. Her parents are calling, wondering where she is. She's not calling them, returning phone calls, texts. You need to come over here to this house and have a little chit chat with our son. We don't want any parts of any foolishness or wrongdoing. That's what a decent parent would do. I don't believe in that aiding your children in mischief and mayhem and murder. Because let's just say they didn't know anything when he first got back. They should have called law officials to say, hey, he's here. You need to come on over and have a chit chat with him because we got a funky feeling something jumped off between he and this young lady out west, and we want to get it resolved because we don't want no parts of any type of foul play. That's what a decent human would do. Not go get lawyers and all of that. And if they even thought that he was suicidal, hell, why go get a lawyer? You know how to be quiet. You don't need a lawyer to tell you anything. You all have been playing the role quite well, probably without any instructions from this bald-headed buffoon. So therefore, what did you go get the lawyer for? Because let's just say he told you he was going to kill himself. You didn't need no lawyer. You just so happen to be sued by the family civilly, but no criminal charges can be brought against you unless you had knowledge beforehand and or orchestrated the death of Gabby Petito. You people are vile, and nothing good is ever going to come to you. And you can move back to the East Coast, New York, out west, Midwest. You will still be the Laundries. You will still be the vile parents of Brian Laundrie. He will still be known as the motherfucker that killed that young lady. So it will not matter where you go. You can't hide. You can put all the baseball caps you want on your head, Miss Lady. You are still that dirty bird's mama. And you are a dirty bird your damn self. So 9 times out of 10, he got his jacked up ways from his parents. Because both of you are evenly yoked in this mischief and not talking to the Petitos. You had every right to talk to them because that is their child, and their child stayed in your damn house. Ate your food, water, taking baths, showers, sleeping in there, and boom, you just cut them off as if the girl never existed. And your attorney has the nerve to sit on a live news program saying nobody reached out to you all, nobody gave an olive branch to you all or him. Well, who the hell are you? You're nobody. You're only somebody in the eyesight of God. Other than that, You are random blokes out here who have no empathy. You're empty inside. Yes, machines. Empty machines. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to the channel, $BigAndrew 129 Cash App. All super chats and stickers are welcome during this live. That's my commentary pertaining to the Petito's lawsuit against these vermin. Hold on a minute. Let me see if there's something else that's coming up. Here's something else pertaining to this hearing. Just got this a little while ago in the news break. If you need verification for this information that just came in on my device, hold 1 second. This is by People magazine. The first hearing in the lawsuit by Gabby Petito's family against the parents of Brian Laundrie was held on Wednesday afternoon to determine if the case will proceed to a jury trial next year, but Laundrie's parents didn't attend. Judge Hunter W. Carroll heard arguments in response to a motion filed in March by the Laundrie's attorneys to dismiss the lawsuit brought by the Petito family. While Petito's family was present in court for the hearing, Laundrie's parents were notably missing. They were not legally required to attend. The lawsuit alleges that Christopher and Roberta Laundrie knew the whereabouts of Gabby's body during the time in which authorities were pouring resources into a massive missing persons investigation. Gabby's parents, Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt, seek more than $30,000 in damages for the mental anguish they suffered due to the alleged deceit of the Laundries. The March filing also alleges that Christopher and Roberta helped Brian conceal Gabby's murder and were making plans for him to flee the country. The suit also alleges that instead of helping Joseph and Nicole locate their daughter, the Laundrie parents went on vacation with Brian and ignored pleas for help from Gabby's family, and that Roberta blocked Nicole's phone number and Facebook profile in September to avoid contact as Nicole sought answers about what happened to Gabby. Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie exhibited extreme and outrageous conduct which constitutes behavior under the circumstances which goes beyond all possible bounds of decency and is regarded as shocking, atrocious, and utterly intolerable in a civilized community, the filing which was obtained by People reads. On September 14, 2021, before Gabby's body was recovered, the Laundrie family released a statement through their lawyer that said, "It is our understanding that a search has been organized for Ms. Petito in or near Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. On behalf of the Laundrie family, it is our hope that the search for Ms. Petito is successful and that Ms. Petito is reunited with her family." The lawsuit responds to that statement saying, "For the Laundries to express their hope that Gabrielle Petito was located and reunited with her family at a time when they knew she had been murdered by their son was beyond outrageous," quote unquote. But in court on Wednesday, an attorney for the Laundrie family argued that the family's lawyer may not have had information that Gabby was dead and that the family was asserting their Fifth Amendment rights to not incriminate themselves. They did what most people would and should do, argued attorney Stephen Bertolino. He called the lawsuit baseless several times. The Petito-Laundry and Laundrie families entered the national spotlight last summer when Gabby's parents reported the young woman missing after she stopped responding to messages while on a cross-country road trip with her fiance Brian. It was soon revealed that Brian had quietly abandoned the trip early and returned to his parents' house in Florida without Gabby. Nobody in the Laundrie family notified Gabby's parents that she was missing or that Brian had left her daughter behind, even though the Laundries retained an attorney the day after Brian returned. Repeat, they retained a lawyer the day after Brian returned. The date the Laundries retained an attorney is a key detail in Joseph and Nicole's lawsuit, since it aligns with their theory that Brian's family knew about her murder from the beginning and withheld vital information. September 2021, Miss Gabby's body was located in Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. Medical examiner determined she died by homicidal strangulation. Brian, who vanished around the same time amid nationwide calls for his arrest, was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound in Florida wilderness, October of last year, after a months-long criminal investigation into Gabby's disappearance and later murder. The FBI determined in January that Brian was responsible for her death, stating that he had written a confession in his notebook before he took his life. The court is in recess. The judge is expected to rule on the motion in the next few days. People magazine is the title, is the source of this information. Brian Laundrie's parents skipped hearing on civil lawsuit alleging they covered up Gabby Petito's murder. People magazine is the source, 61 in the room. Thank you for joining me. They skipped the hearing yesterday. They did not have to be there in attendance. Once again, another coward move by two empty vessels, two empty machines. And Mr. Bertolino, you're right up there with them. So we're talking about three goofy ass people who didn't give a damn about a young lady or her family. And now you have information, repeated once again, that the lawyer, Mr. Bertolino, was hired one day after Brian came back to Florida without Gabby Petito in her vehicle. Why would you hire this lawyer one day after he returned? Because you had to have knowledge. I don't even think we have to discuss it anymore, because now this commentary affirms the obvious. One day back, and the next day you're hunting out a lawyer that doesn't even live in the state of Florida. Stay woke. Family lawyer, a lawyer that doesn't even practice criminal cases. Is everybody following what I'm saying? One day return, second day a lawyer's hired. Next thing you know, he's missing. October, he's found dead. Self-inflicted gunshot wound with a notebook stating he killed Gabby Petito. That's history. Thank you all for joining me. Next commentary is Uvalde. More mess, more smoke in the city. All right, everybody. Let's see what's happening in Uvalde. As most of you know that's following the storyline out there, the chief has been put on paid leave. All right, everybody. Let's get this commentary on. Thank you all so much for joining me.
Bluetooth connected.
Yes, it is. GMA is the source, ABC News.
Care instructions for my guest.
Sorry about that.
As
soon as I turn the volume down, it jumps back up. Sorry about that. All right.
District announcing Chief Pete Arredondo was placed on
breaking news overnight from Uvalde. Embattled Police Chief Pete Arredondo, who oversaw the response to the mass shooting that left 19 students and 2 teachers dead, has been placed on administrative leave. Maria Villarreal has the latest.
After weeks of mounting pressure in Uvalde, overnight the school district announcing Chief Pete Arredondo was placed on administrative leave, despite their initial intentions to wait until the investigation was complete before making any decisions.
He should never be allowed to work in law enforcement again, my personal opinion.
Superintendent Hal Harrell writing in part, because of the lack of clarity that remains and the unknown timing of when I will receive the results of the investigations, I have made the decision to place Chief Arredondo on administrative leave effective on this date. While anger here grows, some think the administrative leave from the school district doesn't go far enough and want Arredondo to resign from city council.
His inaction and inability to own up to him being an incident commander. Yeah, he can't be my councilman. I want better representation than that.
Department of Public Safety Director Stephen McCraw saying as the incident commander during the mass shooting at Robb Elementary School last month, the chief had no radio to communicate with dispatchers. Adding officers wasted time by not immediately entering the classroom where the gunman was opening fire.
Chief, what do you think to say to the parents?
Arredondo recently told the Texas Tribune he felt he was in an impossible situation and wanted to save as many lives as possible.
Overnight, we did try to reach out to Chief Arredondo and his attorney, but have yet to hear back. Today here in Austin, there will be more testimony about gun safety and what happened in Uvalde. But just a reminder, unless the governor calls a special session, it's all for naught. This hearing today will be out in the public so people can hear what is going on, and victims' families are expected to testify. Amy?
All right, Maria, quite a day there. Thank you.
ABC News is the source. Good morning, America. You will see a photograph in this said commentary. It's posted to my community board as well via YouTube of men standing in the hallway with heavy artillery and shields attached to the weapons. Arredondo, what the hell are you talking about? You have admitted that you okayed the standing down of the 77, 78 minutes in the hallway. We now have photographs of you all in the hallway with heavy artillery, which makes no sense. That you did not breach the door once you called for backup. You alleged that 2 of your officers were shot before backup was called. So now in this photograph, which is a still from a video, that they had heavy artillery and shields. And you have downplayed your role as incident commander to first responder. Well, hell, maybe you should have just been helping the ambulance people take out the bodies out of the room. You say your main concern was helping the teachers and the students. That doesn't even make any sense what you're saying. You mean you were trying to help the people who weren't in harm's way get out of the building, but not the people in the room with the shooter. That's basically what you just said. I was scared for my life, scared these other people gonna get shot going in the room. So we helped the other children and teachers get out of their rooms knowing that there was nobody trying to harm them. That's just what you said without saying it. As I sat here and listened to this commentary about the city council position, I forgot all about that. Yes, you should be fired as chief and you should be fired as the city councilman. You should be relinquished from both titles. You should not be able to get any benefits for working in this law enforcement field at this location in Uvalde. Now, wherever you worked before, it's whatever. But your post here in Uvalde, hell no. And I don't believe it was a long stint, because you talked about coming back to your home to work, blah, blah, blah. Well, how's it working for you now being back home working in Uvalde? You've been relinquished from working, but still getting paid, which I think is atrocious to the dead, the injured, and the families and the community. Small community, very small community. You have no business as a chief. You have no business as a city councilman. And as this woman said in this commentary, I don't want you representing me because you didn't do a good job delegating those people out that building and those children. So what the hell I want you as a city councilman? Because if you can't even get the folks out the building to safety, what the hell are you going to do as a city councilman? When it's time for the streets to be paved, stop signs need to be put up, the parks need to be upgraded, or whatever the hell goes on in the town that city councilmen and women vote on, you're not the person I would want. You're not the person I want to do anything. Because if you can't delegate as a chief and as you say, first responder who's supposed to be an incident commander, you sure the hell can't be on the city council. So you need to resign as chief, which I think you're going to. And you also need to give up your post to city council, because I can't see you sitting in city council meetings from here on out without this subject coming up and somebody throwing egg on your face, sir, or worse. Because you know what? You might get what those kids got. Yeah, I'm going to say it. Because I got a funky feeling there's a loose cannon running around Uvalde right now. And they're ready to pop off. And it's probably more than one. Because you don't know the pain and hurt a person is feeling who's lost their child. And we're also talking about small children. But death is death nonetheless. Be it a 9-year-old, a teenager, or an adult. That's somebody's child that got snuffed out while you were sitting out there painting your toenails, fingernails, probably eating a damn Hershey bar. Because we know you ain't lost no meals. Hello, everybody. You're foul. Fire him and take away his councilman post. He doesn't deserve it. Thank you all for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. The next commentary is pertaining to Lil Jackie's father, who has spoken out to News Nation. He's speaking about the response that took place in Uvalde on that fateful morning. Thank you for joining me.
Do not make the same mistake he made, and fellas too.
These kids didn't choose to be in the line of fire. That's in your job description. Who are you protecting? Not my sister. The parents? No.
Emotions running high from members of the Uvalde community during that heated city council meeting last night. The people of that town are still waiting for answers nearly a month after the shooting that killed 21 people, 19 children, and 2 teachers. Javier Casares is a parent who lost his daughter Jackie that day at Robb Elementary. And even a month ago, he was critical of the police response. Take a listen.
As soon as they heard the gunshot, they should have rushed in. You know, that didn't happen. You know, more policemen came in increments. They were there unprepared. You know, they should have had shields in the cars. They should have had, you know,
Do you think they were unprepared, or were they cowardly? Were they disorganized?
I say all three. Honestly, in my opinion.
Javier is joining us once again tonight. He was at that city council meeting last night. Javier, thank you so much. I have thought about you a lot over the last month, and our heart breaks for everything that you have gone through. And we're frustrated with the police response. We are frustrated as a nation at the lack of transparency. I can't imagine the level of frustration you must be feeling.
It's very frustrating. Again, all things are popping up now. You know, all the new news that's coming up. It's very frustrating.
You're asking for accountability. I know you and other parents. That started at the top with Chief Arredondo. He has now been put on leave. Are you satisfied with that response from the council?
It's a baby step forward. You know, I hope there more comes out of it, but I mean, it is a step forward, and yes, we're happy with that.
What does accountability look like for you as they investigate further the events of that day?
I mean, it goes all back to the policemen, you know, from the DPS to everyone that was in that hall, you know, they didn't do their job. And you see it now even more that, you know, more things are popping up that they even checked, they didn't check the door if it was locked or not. And that is ridiculous. Yeah. You know, I believe that things could have been different if they would have gone a lot sooner, if they would have checked that door.
Lives could have been saved.
Yes, ma'am.
What troubles you the most about the finger pointing and the blame game that is happening, not just with law enforcement, but at the state level? Now we have an investigation into DPS and the release of records so that we learn more about this. And you all as parents with so much heartbreak are caught in the middle of all this. Does that add insult to injury that nobody can seem to get along and agree and just meet in the middle and try to come up with what exactly happened that day?
Everybody's trying to cover their tracks, from the school board to the police, and it's aggravating, you know, because my daughter's teacher had already had a couple of instances where he told the principal to change that lock because it wasn't working. So it starts there, and it goes up the chain.
Are police telling you anything that they're not sharing with the public, that we're not hearing in these hearings? Is there communication happening with the families directly involved?
No, ma'am, no word at all.
How about local politicians? Who's in your corner?
Just last night, you know, we heard different things from the mayor, that, you know, there is a lot of pointing fingers, and you know, at first we had the indication that he didn't have our backs, but now, I mean, he finally spoke up and says, you know, that he's tired of being in the dark himself. And that's the thing, he was and still is being held in the dark.
None of us will ever forget that day, and seeing the crosses outside Robb Elementary just is a chilling reminder of the horrific and evil events. You had to bury your little girl, Jackie. All these weeks later, how are you doing?
It was, you know, after we buried her, you know, we celebrated her 10th birthday on June 10th there at the cemetery. And it's been very, very hard.
Happy birthday,
we all have our moments. We try to be strong, but, you know, it'd be different if, you know, she had cancer and we were prepared for something for passing. But the way she was taken away from us so young and violently, you know, it's hard. It's very, very hard.
She is just beautiful, Javier. Thank you for sharing her with us, for talking to us tonight, for talking to us when your wounds were still raw after the shooting. We're thinking about you and all of the people impacted by this tragedy.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. God bless you. Still ahead tonight. Thank you for watching. Go to News Nation.
All right, everybody. News Nation is the source. Uvalde parent speaks out on police response. My condolences to you, sir, for losing little Jackie and all the other parents who have lost children and the families of the school teachers. As I said in this commentary, you will see heavy artillery in the hands of officers in that hallway. Now you hear something about a door being unlocked, not checked. Where's that coming from? Who is mentioning that commentary? Who is bringing forth that commentary? This has been nothing but atrociousness coming out of Texas. 77 minutes, 76 minutes, 78 minutes, keeps changing. A door propped open. Teacher went outside to get food. Then a delivery of food. Then it was she went out to get supplies that was delivered. Then it was she went to her car to get something out. Then it was she went out to her car because she went outside because she heard a crash. Then she ran back in, got her phone. Yeah. The version kept changing. You can't keep up. Then you've got this goofy ass chief signing off on them standing down all those minutes. Door open, door closed. No security to work the front of the school. Gunman going in the back of the school. Why? I don't know. Maybe because he wrecked the car right there near the school, so he just took refuge in there. But he was going to kill somebody because he spent all this money on guns and artillery and ammunition. He didn't buy it just to shoot his grandmama. He bought one gun just to shoot the grandmother. Version. One version after the other. Then here comes the picture that proves the point. You all were right there in that hallway. You had heavy artillery. You could have entered that damn door. So how stupid is it now? We're getting information that possibly the damn door was unlocked and you're sitting up here looking for keys for an hour. 50,000 keys. Oh, here's the one. Poof, open the door. Shoot the killer. Now it's time to pick up all these dead folks. You all act like this is a video game. That's how you act. I'll just wait my turn to take the control stick. When you're done, Bobby, will you hand me the control? That's how you're acting, like this was a damn video game. Those are real people in there. Little bitty people were in the room. Snuffed out, gone. You got all these fucking versions about this and that and who's on first, who's on second, door open, door closed. Now we're arguing about a door being unlocked to the damn classroom. So we went from disputing a propped open door to how the fuck the damn shooter got in the building. Now we're sitting here getting information that possibly the damn door was unlocked the whole time. So you mean to tell me y'all been sitting outside an unlocked door? So that means you was afraid to go in the damn door. Then you say you didn't have a key to the door. Then the key came an hour later. And then now we're getting information weeks later that possibly the damn door was unlocked. What the hell is going on? And you got the nerve to still want to be a damn city councilman and the chief. Hell no, you don't need to be the chief and you don't need to be on city council. District number 3. District number 3 don't need you. This needs to be an overhaul of the police department and the school district security protocol guidelines. You need to have somebody working the schools, every school in the damn city. You need to have a machine for everybody to go through to alert weapons, metal detector. You need a damn metal detector and you need somebody to work the metal detector to check everybody coming in. Yes, it's a process when people are coming in and out of a building, especially a big building. But that's why when you have city municipal buildings, they have several officers to work the damn machines in the doors because they're going to have a lot of foot traffic. This is a small school, so 1 to 2 people should be able to assess a metal detector. Your officers need to be trained for bad case scenario. Weapons training, heavy artillery training, worst case scenario training. You need to have somebody on board that can work tactical, bomb threats, hostage situations, all of that. Instead of having to go call Pookie and Ray Ray from the Border Patrol, you need to have a backup at the police department in Uvalde. Not go wait for people to come from all over Texas. And what's atrocious is looking at all those people sitting around outside, looking at all the people in the hallway now, And these folks laying in here scared to death, trying to get the hell out that room, don't know who's going to come get them. And then all alone, you sitting outside the damn door and the kids are crying and calling, using their cell phones to call 911. And you sitting up here don't even got a damn radio. And like I said before, the officer that went in the school with you, where was his damn radio? So let me guess, he didn't have one working either. So his ass need to be fired too. Fire both of you. I don't care what to do with you. I don't care what to do with you. Because I want to hear from him now. And I haven't heard nothing from him. Sir, was your radio working? Did you also leave your radio back in the toy car, police car that was parked outside? Hell, how did you even get to the damn building? Did you ride on a damn bicycle, tricycle, or a radio flyer wagon? Because y'all are acting like children. Making up excuses like your kids. I don't know. Wasn't me. BS. What's next to come out of Uvalde? I have no idea. Well, the teachers have spoken. The parents have spoken. They've met with the city council to tell them how they feel. I played you commentary. Let's see. What else I want to play for you? I'm going to play you one more commentary. This is KHOU 11, and this is the father of little Jackie. Thank you for joining me.
Adam Bennett live in Uvalde, where the school board held a meeting and heard from some very frustrated family members of the victims, Adam.
Ron, none of them specifically addressed these new revelations, but they did share their ongoing pain since that shooting nearly a month ago, and also their frustration that nothing really has changed. The father of one of the victims said there are still too many access points into local schools and too few police officers. Several victims' families and other community members called for accountability. Specifically, they want the school board to fire School Police Chief Pete Arredondo. DPS called him the incident commander during the delayed breach into the classroom with the gunman.
We were failed by Pete Arredondo. He failed our kids, teachers, parents, and city. And by keeping him on your staff, y'all are continuing to fail us.
I would like to share a quote of one of my little sister's agonizing cries. She said, "My mom died protecting her students, but who was protecting my mom?"
Most of these parents don't want to be here, but we're here because we have to speak for our children, because they can't speak for themselves anymore. So please just do us the favor and do what you know is right, and make these people accountable for what happened.
No favors. Do the right thing.
Chief Arredondo had told the Texas Tribune he never thought he was the incident commander. We did not see him at tonight's meeting. A number of people walked out of the auditorium angry after no action was taken on the chief's employment. Now, after the shooting, Chief Arredondo was sworn into the Uvalde City Council. Tomorrow, the City Council will vote on whether to grant him a leave of absence from future meetings. We will be at that meeting tomorrow evening.
Interesting.
All right, still a lot of anger in Uvalde tonight. Thank you so much, Adam Bennett. We'll stay on top of these new developments and bring you any updates as soon as they come in on the air and online at khou.com and, of course, on the KHOU 11 app.
Okay, everybody. That's KHOU 11. If you need verification, everything's posted to my community board. It's verification for information. This is a very sad situation. It says Uvalde CISD board heard from emotional, frustrated community members Monday night. Around 200 people attended, including families of the victims. Okay, so this was a community, a CISD board hearing these people's complaints. He's still a councilman, although he has been removed from chief as acting, doing his duties, but he's still being paid. And he's also a council member. So he needs to be removed as a council member. He needs to be fired as the chief. Why is the police chief of the damn city? Because I keep hearing he's the chief of police for the school board, school district. Well, where is the chief of police of Uvalde? Do you all not have a police chief, superintendent? What? You know what I'm saying? A captain, What? I'm confused. Commissioner, you know what I'm saying? No, it's a small town, but where's the captain of the police department? Who is the chief of police for Uvalde, Texas? Where's the police captain? I've heard none of these people. I keep hearing Arredondo as the chief of police for the district. Well, is there a difference? Is he also the police chief of the damn city? Please, somebody help verify, because I'm drowning. Next commentary is the one I know you all been waiting on. I said I wasn't going to say anything about this, but I'm going to go ahead because the source has a heavy heart right now pertaining to this mess out of Cal City. And the source wants Ryan Dean and the grandparents to know they know you, and they know you well, and they know you've been lying to the public, and obviously you've been lying to your attorney. Ryan Dean, did you tell the lawyer that you have 2 other living children? Because a lot of people who's following this story on YouTube think they know the whole story about your life and your dealings, but they don't know the whole story. And a lot of the people who are flocking to you are people like you. See, this is how I know a lot of you all are like Ryan Dean and this whole messy circle. You are judging the story according to how you've lived, how your mom and daddy cousins lived, stories you've heard from people in the street. But do you know the whole truth of what actually goes on behind closed doors? No, you don't. The state just don't take children because they're bored. Nobody's running around in cloak and dagger stealing little children out of people's houses, housing developments. And the gist of the story is that she has 2 living children who were not taken by the state. So that's why you can't say the state wrongfully took her kids, because she had access to 2 other children when she had those 2. See, Queen does her homework. I'm not your typical YouTuber that just brings you he said, she said. Somebody jumps up on a live audio, starts talking and spinning a spit out their mouth and making up stuff. See, I'm the only YouTuber that tells you the truth. She has 2 living children who were not taken by the state when those boys were taken from her custody. So now you all need to ask that question. Why not? Yeah, Big Ange. Why didn't they take her other 2 children? Where are they? They don't talk about them. That's right. Why don't you all talk about them? Ryan Dean and the grandparents, why are you all not talking about the living children? Why did you not have the living children standing up there with you in the press conference? I'll wait. Beautiful son. He's a looker. He's going to have the girls chasing him when he's older. I'm going to ask you again. Where were your children? Why were they not at the press conference? Your son and your daughter, Miss Dean. Since you're crying and saying you're emotional, this, that, and the other, well, let's tell it all. Let's tell the whole truth. And let's stop sugarcoating stuff to the news, the lawyers, and feeble-minded people who watch YouTube and social media and Facebook. All that posting of pictures of your son last year, blah, 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 blah. But you really didn't tell people the truth that you're just posting shit out your phone. You don't really deal with your son. You don't call, you don't visit, you don't bring him presents, nothing. When was the last time you talked to the baby boy? Was it right around Valentine's Day this year? That's what I heard. What about the baby girl, the daughter, your 2 older children? We're talking about your older children who are nowhere in this conversation. Everything's about Cal City, Cal City, Cal City. We know what Jacqueline and Trezell did was foul. We'll scratch them off the table since you're suing $40 million from the state of California, DHS office, and Jacqueline and Trezell West for wrongful death. But see, this is what you're not telling the public. Where were you all when the children needed a place to live before being placed in foster care, number 1? Grandma, grandpa, why didn't you get the kids on your own? Take them in when you saw things weren't going okay with your daughter. Did you not have a relationship to see she wasn't properly rearing all 4 of her children, all different daddies? Word on the street. DNA don't lie. And the ultimate question, why didn't you help your daughter with her children? Why didn't you take her in? Why didn't you give her a place to live with the kids? Why is it that she was living pillar to post with her children, never kept a car, never kept a job, never kept a stable home, apartment, public housing, subsidized housing, nothing? With all 4. Oh, you don't want to tell that part. But Queen gonna tell it because I'm tired of people getting in my box, in my comment section, spewing crazy stuff about a 1-year-old at the press conference. I don't know who the baby is. Don't care. Because it's not the subject. The subject is, where were you all when the children needed a place to live? Why didn't you sue the state of California years ago? Bingo card. You wasn't ready for that. Why are you just now suing mommy, daddy, and Miss Dean? Is it because the bio dad found him a lawyer and you all decided to jump on the ship, sinking one, I might add, and say, well, he's suing. Hey, we're going to get on the ticket too. But yet, when the children were missing for a whole year, and we now know that they were dead, and the state knew, and the detectives knew, all detectives knew, didn't tell us. Y'all ain't went to no press conference. You ain't went to that stupid ass board meeting they had when the cousin went speaking about the children missing. Only one relative was speaking all this time. We never saw Miss Dean but 1 or 2 times. We never saw the grandmama, granddaddy, ever. And we didn't see the baby daddy either. And yet you all want to talk about people making up stuff about you. No, ain't nobody had to make up nothing. Nobody ever had to come to the queen, because I was watching the news like everybody else was watching, and I saw the story for what it was worth. I knew there was some hanky-panky going on for why the state took your children. Now you're saying that you had the second child only a week in your possession, and the state took them a week later. I don't know why. Yes, you do. Stop this nonsense. You're a very disrespectful machine, Miss Dean. Your baby couldn't breathe. Why don't you tell that to everybody? The fact that the child's cracked femur, child number 1, there was nobody that ever got arrested, to my knowledge, or stood account for cracking your baby's femur. And that is the hardest bone to break in the human body, for those of you who don't know about the human body. So ask yourself how a leg could get cracked on an infant who can't walk. And to this day, we don't even know if it properly healed or not, if the child was able to walk properly before his untimely demise with the West family. The fact that you say the children weren't fed, looked like they were starving, had scratches on his face. Well, the children could have been fighting each other, playing with other kids. Kids get scratches all the time. But what I want to know is, at what interval in the children's lives did you notice this underway? Because I got a feeling, I don't know. I can't really say that I think you actually saw the children when they were with the West family. Because my understanding is that they had them a year and a half before formally adopting them. So how is it that you're going through the shuffle of seeing your children, visiting with them, but yet the state wouldn't give you custodial rights to the kids? So what the hell were you all doing this whole time? You say you took parenting classes, but yet they wouldn't give you the children. They wouldn't give the children to your mother. Something's off with this story. And the gist of the story is you had 2 other living children that you all want to say the state stole these 2 babies, but why the state didn't steal your 2 older children? Why don't you tell everybody that? Why don't you tell these other YouTubers that's been crawling up your ass thinking you're a noble person? Why don't you tell them, yeah, I got 2 other kids that I don't talk about, I don't visit, I don't take care of them, I don't pay bills, medical expenses, food, nothing, no child support, nothing. Why don't you talk about the 2 living children? Why don't you tell the world you never sued the state when you saw they mistreated you? So you say they denied you rights, you and your mother. Then why didn't you sue the state of California years ago when they terminated your rights? Don't come talking this crazy nonsense. That's why somebody reached out to me last year to say, Queen, I need to tell you the truth about Ryan Dean and her family. She's been lying to the public and social media. She never talks about her 2 older children. She's never kept a viable place to live, car, monies, nothing. Place to place, place to place. So that's why it didn't shock me that something happened to your child. Because when you're leaving your children with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, anything can happen to a baby. This is the reason why children are injured, molested, beat up, hurt, thrown about, because they're in a household with insufficient minds. People are smoking, chiefing, drinking, getting mad because a baby's crying. That's how shit jumps off. But you don't want to tell the whole truth that while you were rearing these babies, you were pillar to post. You didn't have your own house. You wasn't paying a mortgage. You weren't paying rent somewhere. You were living off of somebody else. So to address a certain person's comment, that mess you're talking about her stepchildren, that ain't even the subject matter. I'm talking about her living children. I tell you all, you don't listen to the content, you don't pay attention. I'm sick of the mess myself. And that's why I'm speaking on it today, because this is vile. Where were the grandparents when the children needed a place to live? Why are you allegedly saying, oh, I was going to see them, they were scratched up, they were malnourished? Well, then that's when you should have got a lawyer and sued the state. You should have took pictures of your children and said, I've seen them this many times, they look sick, they look scared, whatever. Why are you just not suing because the children have been deemed dead by the district attorney? See, I'm gonna come to you correct because some of you scared. I ain't scared. I don't sugarcoat nothing over here. See, I know your kind, I know your type. You've had ample enough time to sue the state of California for terminating your rights and not giving you your rights back to you and the bio father. That's point number one. Did you actually comply with the rules in order to get your children back? Did your parents or whomever comply with everything to get custody of the children? Because it makes no sense to say, hey, yes, you can get the kids back, but we already know they're going to tell you what you should and should not do in order to try to get the children. So one's going to ask, well, what happened? This leads me to believe that somebody didn't do what they needed to do, or they got information that you did not need your children back and your parents did not need children. And if they believe the children are severely abused, neglected, they're not going to give the children possibly to a relative. That's up to them, their discretion. So what is the truth between you all's verdicts, versions versus the state of California? Because the part of the story that you can't logically explain and refuse to explain is the fact you have two living children who the state didn't get custody of. So ask yourselves that, everybody in the chat. Why does she have two living children who are older than the Cal City boys that were never taken by the state of California, and they currently live with their bio fathers? Checkmate. Where were you, grandparents? And for those who follow my content, you know I'm getting ready to go there. Mr. Keith Dean, why don't you tell the public and the lawyer in that press conference, you were all up in my inbox for Everyday Shenanigans on Facebook when I was trying to get that off the ground, but I decided to deplete it because it wasn't worth my time and effort, calling me nasty names and telling me to stay out of Cali's business. But yet you want somebody to believe that you would be somebody that needs to be in the periphery of small children. Your mouth is filthy and dirty, and you know that your daughter has not done right by her own damn kids, and you got the nerve to stand up at a press conference and say, this my baby girl. Well, if she was your baby girl, then why the fuck you didn't step up and get her damn kids before they got placed over here, and then with the West family? I'll wait. Where are your other relatives? Why didn't any of the other relatives, sisters, brothers, cousins get custody of the West boys? I'll wait. Do you all hear Jeopardy music? Because I do. I've been hearing it. Where were you all when she needed somebody to place her children? When they took her children, year apart from one another, where were you all? Why would the state deny you all custody of the children? I'm curious. Since everybody else is lying and making up stuff, hey, Cherie, why did the state not give Miss Moore custody of her own grandchildren? Why not this grandfather who's popping up like Jack in the Box? Sir, where were you when everybody was rallying for the children a year ago? When the report first went in that they were missing, were you out there on the lawn that day? Her sister, whomever was hooping and hollering about the kids, Miss, I got 9 kids. I don't leave my kids alone, which I know that's a damn lie, because ain't no way anybody can keep 2 eyes on 9 children. Ain't no way you keeping your eyes on 18 eyes. Come on, Queen, bring it to him. I'll wait. Where were you, sir? Never once did I ever see you step up to the podium and speak about your grandchildren, the living ones or the dead ones. Miss Moore, where were you? We didn't see you, hear from you. Ryan Dean, when they was out there in the desert looking for your children in Cal City and then Bakersfield, and everybody was sitting here wondering what the hell was going on. They thought they found something when they had all those cadets out there looking in the desert. YouTube was running, trying to get the 411 or the 211 to put out more lies and mischief. You were nowhere to be found. Not you, your mama, or your daddy. Nobody was out there in Bakersfield when they went out there to that area searching the land, and people was wondering, well, where's the mama? Where's the mama? Somewhere probably chiefing and drinking wine. Going to people's houses to parties that you weren't invited to with a certain young man. He knew better than to take you up to that woman's house. Yeah, they told me about it. So it don't seem like to me you've been grieving any of your children. How about that? You weren't grieving the babies, and you weren't grieving your older two children because you've had ample enough time to get custody of all these children. And let's talk about the older two children, since you want to focus on two dead babies that you didn't give a fuck about. Why you don't raise these two children? Why are you not raising these two older children? Because I know they ask about you and want to see their mama. And you want to stand up in this press conference dolled up with your hair weave and eyelashes, and you ain't telling the whole truth. You're not telling the whole truth that you don't even give a fuck about the two older children. And that's why I know you don't care about Classic and Sincere, because you had ample enough time to get custody of those boys. And I think you didn't comply with the rules and regulations, or they found out something undignified about you and baby daddy, and they said, hell no. That's what I think. That's exactly what I think. And I think it's atrocious how you people come in a day late, dollar short, trying to sue the state for money when you all had years to sue the state for wrongful termination of custody rights. Why now would you wait to sue the state? You've had years to sue the state. If you felt like they wronged you, they violated your civil rights, why didn't you do this earlier? Why is this mom and pop jumping up all of a sudden as if they're so concerned about their daughter and grandchildren? Grandparents, what have you called your living grandchildren? Why aren't you taking up with the boy child, taking him to games and the movies and Little League and things like that? When was the last time you grandparents saw your boy grandson that's living? I'll wait. Beautiful boy. You all don't even talk to him. Don't even call him on the damn cell phone. But you want to sit up here and talk about these your only grandchildren. Classic and Sincere. Really? Wow. And this is what you call love. Okay. Okay. I see what you all are on. I see what you all are on. This is some real sad mess right here. Very, very sad to me. Hold on one second, you guys. Thank you all for joining me. $62 viewing, 45 thumbs up. I must know what I'm talking about. My thing is, if you're going to tell it, you're going to tell a story, tell all of it. Don't give bits and pieces. The parts you think that people want to hear and see. Tell the whole truth. Just say you failed your children, all four, and you have no contact with the boy and girl who are your older children, and your parents don't have contact with them and don't give a damn about them. And you're sitting here rallying for two dead babies that you didn't care for when they were living. You didn't do what you needed to do to be in their lives. And now you're using them as a crutch to get money from the state. But the state's not getting ready to pay you one damn dime.
18 months after Orrin and Orson West disappeared from their home of their adoptive parents in California City, the boy's biological mother is breaking her silence. 17's Christian Galeno in studio tonight with more on the federal lawsuit the family has filed against the county of Kern and the state of California. Christian?
Jim, well, the family said today that their lawsuit against the state and county stems from the decision to remove the children from their biological parents, placing them in a dangerous situation. But they say it's also meant to prevent another tragedy like the one they've had to live through.
This is hard for me to talk about without getting emotional.
A federal lawsuit filed by the Dean Moore family seeks $40 million in damages for alleged civil rights violations.
My family and I have been treated unfair. There have been no apologies. There's no respect.
The suit names the State Department of Social Services, Kern County Human Services, and Jacqueline and Trezelle West as defendants.
The guys ruined my life.
I hate this happened to my daughter. This is my baby girl right here. And nothing else to do right now but mourn and make sure Kern County pays for their negligence.
That the defendants and each of them interfered with the reunification and the preservation of the family.
In 2016, Dean was suspected of child abuse after she took her oldest son, Oren, to Memorial Hospital for a broken leg. According to the suit, Dean filed reunification requests and completed parenting classes to regain custody, but no luck. In 2017, she gave birth to Orson, only to have him removed a week later.
To lose my child, and for my second child to be born into it, and for me to take him home for a week and lose him, it hurts.
In late 2018, both boys were removed from a foster home and placed with the Wests. Afterward, Dean noticed during visits that her children seemed scared and were losing weight, and Orson had scratches on his face, the suit says.
I just want answers. I just want answers. Like, why? Why Kern County? What was the purpose of not giving them to me?
The suit also says that Moore filed a request to have the children placed with her, but in 2019, the department revoked Dean's parental rights without explanation and denied her requests.
Placing the children in a home of the West was a state-created danger.
Yeah, well, the boys' adoptive parents, Trezelle and Jacqueline West, are now charged with murder and other offenses in their deaths, and they are due back in court next month. For now, reporting in studio, Christian Galeno, 17 News.
All right, everybody. KGET is the source for this information. I'm glad they brought up the past because you have to tell the whole story and not bits and pieces such as what Dean has been putting out to social media and Facebook and people who are green and gullible. You took your child to the emergency room with a broke leg. Then that child enters the state. You say you finished parenting classes, but they still wouldn't give you your child back. A year later, you give birth, which is, to me, fucking ridiculous. To be knocked up pregnant with baby number 2, and that child was only held in your possession allegedly for a week. So explain to me how that child ended up in the NIC unit. I'm gonna keep saying it till y'all get it through your heads. How did that child, number 2, end up in the NIC unit with nobody? Nobody to touch his little fingers and toes, rub his little head so he could feel the comfort of his own mother and family members. You left that part out of the story. Your baby was in the NIC unit and you were never there. You never visited the baby once, ever, while he was in the hospital. So where is that in the story? Because I didn't hear that. And you acted like you shocked they took your baby, number 2. Well, obviously they took the baby for a reason. And as I said, my understanding is that the baby wasn't breathing on its own. So really, I'm shocked that the baby wasn't taken immediately because I thought the baby was taken immediately, baby number 2. But here, this commentary says 1 week. Very interesting. Very hard to talk about. You guys ruined my life, quote unquote. How did they ruin your life? You've been living from place to place, doing your own thing. You got money for hair weave and eyelashes and fingernails, but they ruined your life. You don't look like somebody's life that's been ruined, because most people whose lives have been ruined and they all broke up and toe up over whatever, they don't get their hair done. They don't buy hair weave and wigs. They don't get the nails painted. They don't go get press-on nails, fake nails, acrylic nails. They don't do none of that because they can't live, remember? Too distraught to comb their hair, paint their face, put on makeup, post to social media every motherfucking day. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You, your mama, and your daddy. See, I know they didn't teach you anything. That's the reason why you ended up in the predicament of having 4 children. and your children have different fathers, and the 2 older children live with their biological father, why is that not mentioned in this press conference? Why are those children not standing there with you as a united front? Why are your parents not talking about the 2 older children that never got in the state's care? So you got to stop saying they took your baby. They stole your rights. Well, why the fuck they didn't take your 2 older children if they stole your rights? I'm going to keep saying it till y'all come correct. And I know for a fact that one of them has a good damn life. And they ain't missing a beat to make sure that child has everything they need. Morning, noon, and night. You all are gang players out there, grand hustlers. Joined by her parents, Dana Moore and Leaf Dean, the family announced federal lawsuit Friday against the State Department of Social Services, Kern County Human Services, Jacqueline Giselle West. The Dean Moore seeks $40 million in damages for civil rights violations. They say lawsuits against the state county stems from the decision to remove the children from the biological parents, eventually placing them in a dangerous situation. My family and I have been treated unfairly, says Moore. No apologies, no respect. There is nothing, quote unquote. The father, Lee, says the tragedy they've had to live is one they hope no other family has ever experienced. I hate that this happened to my daughter, said Dean. This is my baby girl here. There's nothing else to do. Just mourn and ensure that Kern County pays for their negligence. Representing the Moore Deans is San Francisco-based civil rights attorney Joaquin McCoy. McCoy believes the actions taken by county agencies to remove the children are in direct violation of the Family First Act of 2016. Each of them, county, state, West, interfered, says McCoy, with the reunification of and the preservation of family. In April, McCoy filed a claim on behalf of Dean and Moore. Says since then, McCoy says the county rejected the claim and instead delegated the matter to county council, and the state failed to respond. 2016, Dean was suspected of child abuse after she took her oldest son, Oren, to Memorial Hospital for a broken leg. According to the suit, Dean filed reunification requests and completed parenting classes to regain custody, but had no luck. In 2017, she gave birth to Orson, only to have him removed a week later. To lose my child and take my second child for a week and then lose him, it hurts, said Dean. Late 2018, both boys were removed from a foster home and placed with the West. Afterward, Dean noticed during visits that her children seemed scared and were losing weight, and Orson had scratches on his face, the suit says. I just want answers, said Moore. Why? Why Kern County? What was the purpose of not giving them to me? In the suit, Moore claims to have filed a request to have the children placed with her, but in 2019, the department revoked Dean's parental rights without explanation and denied Moore's requests. And this is the mother of Miss Dean. 17 News has attempted to get a comment from the county, but has yet to respond. The boys' adopted parents, Giselle Jacqueline, were charged with murder and other offenses in their deaths. They're due back in court next month. Placing the children in a home of West was a state-created danger, said McCoy. My clients want to make certain that this gut-wrenching loss does not happen to another family in the future. KGET17 is the source of this bullshit. Well, like I said, you all weren't concerned about anybody's child. From what I can see, you don't have custody of your 2 older children. You've let those 2 children stay with the father, which shows me you didn't want to have no children, Miss Dean. Stop the game, sweetheart, because you're making a fool out of yourself. And the fact that you didn't sue the state years ago when they terminated your rights in 2019, which was 3 years ago, why not? Why not? Why didn't you file a suit, you and your parents, in 2019? Why didn't you get an attorney before that to say my rights were violated? They're not giving me an explanation to myself and my mother. I'm trying to get my children back. I've done what you asked me to do. Is it possible that they had you pee in a cup and you couldn't stay clean? Because it doesn't mean anything to take the parenting classes if you're still smoking marijuana and imbibing drugs and alcohol. Stay woke. Is that the part of the story you left out? Did you tell your lawyer you have 2 older children that you don't visit or see? You didn't think that the day you go into court, the judge is going to ask you, ma'am, do you have any other children? Yes. Where are they? With their daddies. Or what you say? Their daddies. How many daddies? 2. Do you visit them? No. You pay child support? No. You talk to your children? No. Do you want them back? No. That part. You all are vicious out there. I understand it's expensive to live in California, but this shit you all doing is ridiculous, it's disrespectful. And you all don't have no respect for the people that's now taking care of the 2 older children. You're sitting there talking about these 2 kids because you know they dead, they're not coming back. That's why we know that this is a farce, because you had ample enough time to sue the state of California years ago when you saw they were not favoring you to get your kids back. And to this day, nobody has stood account for breaking your baby's leg. So will you ever tell the truth to who the fuck cracked that baby's leg? How about that? Yeah, I'm on one today because this is atrocious. And you people following in behind her like sick guppies need to wake up and stop sugarcoating and aiding child abusers and people who mistreat their children and throw their children off with every Tom, Dick, and Harry and expect good things to come from just leaving your damn kids with random folks. You can't leave your children with every Tom, Dick, and Harry and expect something bad not to fucking happen. And then you go out here smoking and chiefing while they took your second kid. But you don't want to talk about the 2 that's living. They get no respect. And you give no respect to the daddies that take care of them. And you think your baby boy and girl don't want their mama? They don't want the love from their mama? And you sitting up here bullshitting in front of that camera for the 2 that's dead that you ain't care about then. You've let years go by and you didn't even get an attorney to fight for them damn kids. You only filed a lawsuit when you heard the baby daddy filed for one. You all are sick. Now come for me now. And that's what you can't stand, is that somebody said, I'm gonna go to Everyday Shenanigans and tell her the truth about these lying scumbags out here in California trying to make up stuff and get sympathy when they didn't never give a fuck about them babies, all for not just Classic and Sincere, but all for. Checkmate. Wanda West, where are you? I believe you have guilty knowledge from the information I read in the affidavit. You've been playing coy, you and your husband. I do believe you all had knowledge that Jacqueline Trezell West murdered these baby boys. You were supposed to go to the house the weekend of the 18th of September, 2020. Why? We're going to play the commentary where you acted like you were so concerned about these grandkids and your son and daughter. You talked in past tense that they were good parents. I'm looping you in with the bullshit too. I'm not pulling. I'm pulling all stops this evening. I'm going to clear house and I'm going to be done with it. Thank you all for joining. I want to show you how nasty all these people are out there in California. They don't give a damn about nobody. This is from 1 year ago, everybody. I'm going to show you how much love is out here for these children. People don't love nobody.
Bluetooth connected.
With the intensifying search for 2 young brothers who went missing from their backyard almost 7 weeks ago. The reward for their whereabouts now increasing. This morning, ABC News getting an exclusive interview as we learn about some threats allegedly being made against the boys' adopted family. ABC's Zareen Shah joins us with more. Good morning, Zareen.
Good morning, Eva. For the first time, we're hearing from the adoptive dad's family. Look, these boys have been missing over 40 days, but a small California city determined to find them. This morning, the family of the adoptive father of the 2 California city brothers who vanished, speaking exclusively to ABC News.
I just know that they were really good parents as far as I was concerned. We offered a reward out of our own pockets.
That reward for 4-year-old Oren and 3-year-old Orson increasing to $120,000, contributed by multiple parties. Authorities receiving more than 2,000 tips and using imaging devices at their adoptive parents, Trezell West and his wife Jacqueline's home, to search for the boys. But now the adoptive dad's family says they're targets, not from authorities, but from the public.
It is misguided to blame uncles and aunts and grandparents for children who are missing that we love and care about and are trying to find. Right now, there are people outside the home talking about where are the boys.
Police have not named any suspects.
I'm working so hard, literally day and night, to find these kids.
The boys were adopted in 2019 and disappeared late December. The adoptive parents saying they last saw them in their backyard.
Came inside the house, searched the house, me and my wife. Once that didn't pan out, I got in the van.
Neighbor surveillance showing Trezell jumping into that van looking for his boys, the couple then calling police. The chief maintaining hope, but still suspects foul play. The biological mother devastated.
I don't have not one evil bone in my body. And for this to happen to me, it's a lot for me.
As a community continues holding vigils, the family reminding everyone they are in deep pain too.
And it's like the people don't realize that we are grieving, we are hurting just like they are.
The Wests have 4 other children. They are in protective custody. The chief saying this is protocol because those first 2 kids disappeared under their parents' care. Dan?
A wrenching story all the way around. Zoreen, thank you very much.
Well, hey there, GMA.
Thank you for joining me. That's commentary from a year ago. Good Morning America's the source is posted to my community board. This is commentary where you see the West parents, the grandparents of the adopted children, Trezell's parents in this interview. Then you heard from the uncle Jamal talking about people harassing the aunts and uncles. Well, this is what happens. It's not saying it's right, but we now know, Mr. Jamal, that your mama and daddy or stepdaddy, whomever, has knowledge of what the fuck happened to those babies. And that's why you all have laid quiet. Because at some point you all knew what the hell was going on. You may not have known everything, Mr. Jamal, because you lived out on the East Coast, but your mama knew something. Wanda, when did you know that the children were dead? Because your name is in the affidavit against Jacqueline and Trezell West, and it's going to come out in court that you had knowledge. They're going to probably show text messaging, messenger, knew all of that. Because why were you going to the house to stay on the 18th on that fateful weekend? And I believe both boys were killed possibly a week or so from each other. I'm not sure if the boys were killed at the same time or not. We will find that out when court starts next month. But the fact that one line shows the 11th of September of a death, and then another line says between the 17th and the 20th. And that is strange because they were asking you to be at the house the 18th. Put it on paper and make it make sense. What do you know about the deaths of these babies, ma'am? What did you say to your son when you no longer saw the 2 itty bitty spiders around? Because I believe in that affidavit also says they went back to the biological family. So did he tell you that the 2 small children went back and you settled on that answer? Okay. But then wouldn't she say, but wait a minute, you adopted them. Why would you send them back? Yeah, why would you send them back? Who the hell is going to believe that version? That you sent 2 children back to the biological parents when one, you adopted them from the state. And we do believe you were using the state as a way to make money by getting these foster children in your custody and peripheral. So what fool's going to believe that you found their biological mom and daddy and took them and gave them back? Well, we already know allegedly these biological parents ain't seen the children in God knows how long. So exactly where did you send them to? Or are you speaking of some other children that were in your possession? And did you ever take these children, other children in while you had these kids and or after murdering them? Did you take any other foster children, new foster children to Cal City? Hell, do we have some more missing children? We have an allegation that somebody's child is missing. Some woman talked to the news and said her child was in your custody and she hasn't gotten any information, but her rights were also severed too. So who knows? You can't even believe people when you start hearing that the rights were severed, because 9 times out of 10, it was either severe abuse when they severed the rights immediately, or 2, the person didn't comply with trying to get their kids back. And then the state files for legal custody of the children and sever asked the judge to sever the rights between the child and the parent. So what's the truth? But I do believe you have guilty knowledge knowing something happened to these babies. And I can't say if the children were murdered at the same time, discarded at the same time. But I do believe you, Wanda West, you know something about these babies, and you are playing stupid and dumb, but I know you're not stupid and dumb. You're not a pretty lady, but you're not dumb. You've been aiding this bullshit right along with your son and daughter-in-law from the jump. And the fact that you never spoke to the news day one with your son and daughter-in-law told me a lot as well. You see, when children go missing, family members go missing, the appropriate thing to do is have all the family members gather in front of the news as a united front. We didn't see that with Jacqueline and Giselle. Spoke to the news one time, by your family hooping and hollering over in the corner, fussing and cussing. Voila, never see T and J again. Never see you, your husband, Jamal, nobody else until a little time later. Then you two fall off after doing this Good Morning America interview, and it's a wrap. So this is how you know that everybody's complicit in not giving a fuck about the boys. The bio mama never cared. Bio daddy didn't care. The relatives didn't care. She didn't sue the state earlier to try to get rights to her children, a lawsuit. Why you didn't get a lawyer before? You all didn't care as the grandparents of these adopted children because you fell off after interview number one. You never went out in the street and searched for the children. Never saw you rallying with anybody searching. Never, ever, ever. And then you got to nerve to sit up here in this damn interview and say, oh, we're grieving too. What are you grieving about? Exactly what were you grieving about? We don't know that you were grieving. We hadn't even seen you. And after you did this interview, we never saw you or your husband, Mr. Phillip, again. Never saw Jacqueline and Giselle give a formal interview again. Never saw Ryan Dean. After talking to the news at least, 2 or 3 times she's talked? Boom, she fell off. Now here come her mom and daddy jumping up out of the fucking cake on a $40 million lawsuit toward the state and Jacqueline and Giselle. Are you serious? All of you all are cut from the same cloth. And all of you know of each other, and I do believe all of you all have passed each other's paths in Bakersfield. Yes. I do believe that. I believe all of you knew of each other. You may not have been best friends. Parents may not have hung with other parents, but I do believe Mr. Keith Dean, Miss Mora, and Wanda West and Phillip West, you all crossed paths with one another at some point in that dusty ass town. Because the world is small, and there's no way you're gonna make me think you all didn't cross paths with one another. And Jacqueline and Giselle had no business taking in these children or any other children. They weren't fit to procreate, let alone foster and adopt children. But it's neither here nor there because one can't read the mind of another individual. Children get lost in the shuffle every day by their own biological parents and also in the system. And that's the point. If a human being won't treat their own child right, how are you expecting a stranger to treat the child right? And there are times when the stranger treats the children better than their own biological family. But in this case, the children were the biggest losers, including the other children as well. They're lucky to be alive. Let's give thanks for that. Because we could be talking about more dead children. Wanda, Phil, what is your role in the deaths of these children? What was your role? Did you help aid the deaths of these children? Do you know where the children are discarded? Do you know the timeline of when the children went missing? And did you suspect your child of killing these children? And did you give him any advice if indeed you knew that the children were dead? Because I got a funky feeling you know way more than what you have revealed to the public that they were just missing. Because if you went to the house on the 18th, you knew damn well those kids were gone. And I'd like to know, what did you say to your son and daughter-in-law? And what did they say to you the weekend of the 18th and beforehand? Because the affidavit makes it seem like he was preparing you to come to the house beforehand. And I'm also confused about those dates because everything's 1 through the 11th, 1 through the 20th. And I'm trying to figure out why the state doesn't have a definitive date on the disappearance and the death of the boys. Why is everything September 1st through September 20th? It's very strange. I do believe this data is coming, this information is coming from data such as phone texting, text messages. That's what I believe. And that's possibly why they don't have a definitive date. But it goes back in that month of September that they've retrieved this information from the phone company. I do believe data has come back in this case. And that is why you have this information in the said affidavit against Jacqueline and Giselle West. They know something. TBI, excuse me, not TBI, but FBI out there. They know something. They've checked phone records. And you were conversing, Mr. West, with your mother and father, prepping her to come to the house and possibly keep your remaining 4 while you discard 1 or 2 of the children. So we're going to ask this. Were both of the boys killed at the same time or a week or 2 beforehand? Did they fully live in the house in Cal City before asking the mother to go stay there on the 18th? Or were they transitioning to that house near the 18th of September, 2020? Why did they need Wanda to stay at the house? As I said, could it be they were trying to discard 1 or more of the children, 2 of the children, and they needed the mother to stay at the house to keep the 4 boys so they could go discard the baby or babies somewhere outside of Bakersfield, California? Because I'm kind of leaning towards that theory now. And it's not to say he could have asked his mom to babysit, but if indeed the children were killed, stay with me now, if indeed the state is accurate on time of death between the 1st of September through the 20th, and they asked their mother to stay at that house, Miss West, on the 18th, then that means 9 times out of 10, they wanted her to keep their children. And that would lead me to believe the remaining 4 that were living, and that they had already planned to kill the boy beforehand and needed her to stay at the house to watch the children while they go off and discard the baby somewhere, 9 times out of 10, somewhere in the state of California or outside the state. And as I've told you, with the commentary of everything seized last year, records, data, they did go out of the state of California to investigate the disappearance of the boys. Could it be the boys are discarded outside of California? And that is why you can't find them. Because they're not in the state of California. They are somewhere, Oregon, Washington, and they do have ties to those states. And I brought you that commentary before last year. And in that affidavit that I read to you the other day, which was kind of confusing to me, the affidavit states that these 2 orchestrated a premeditated murder against the 2 babies. Planned it willfully. So that means they were or did devise a plan to get rid of the children, kill the children, and also beforehand it is mentioned that 1 or more of the children were aids in the demise of both babies. So imagine planning the deaths of children, planning and using your kids to help kill the children, and then use your mama as the babysitter for the remaining children while you go off and find a dump spot for the boys. Have mercy. There's no rhyme or reason for this type of information that I'm bringing to you today. No way these children should be dead. No way they should have ever been mistreated in the care of their bio donor. But it happened. And when you look at the story objectively from all sides and the information that has been given, it shows you that the children never had a chance. And this has happened to many children in life. They left their homes to go into the state's care. The state placed them with a foster care and or adoptive family, and the children somewhere down the line lost their life to the adoptive and or foster care parents. Because in the end, you do not know people. You do not know the mindset of a man, nor a woman, nor a child. And the fact that these two empty vessels, machines, brought these children into their home to deliberately hurt, harm them, murder them with the aid of their children shows they are vile and they do not need to even be walking nor breathing on this planet Earth. And sickening is that they have other children. Two, they brought here by their own seeds. And two other allegedly fostered or adopted. And we have to pray that these children will get adequate mental care, because if not, they will grow up to be sinister as Jacqueline and Trezell West. Now we have to ask the other question that nobody's ever asked in any commentary that I've heard or seen. Where are the parents of the other two foster children? Where are they? Do they try to inquire about their said children, since they now know the story of Jacqueline and Trezell West murdering these two baby boys? Or do they even know that their children were placed with Jacqueline and Trezell West? Hell, they may not even know. Hell, may not even care. Who's to say? And praying that the state will try to do their best in their decision-making with placing children. But as I said, in the end, there is no guarantee, because you don't know people. Anything can be good on paper. Nice house, home, academics, no criminal record, pass a physical, talk decent in an interview, take an exam. But it has nothing to do with the human mind and the human spirit. And that's what you all need to understand, is that there are no guarantees out here when you're dealing with two-legged creatures. Not now, not never. And some of us are treated well by family. Some of us are not. Some of us are treated well by strangers. Some of us are not. It is a pull of the card, roll of the dice. These children were failed by their bio parents and relatives. And they were failed by the people who took them in, Jacqueline and Trezell West. And no dollar amount can equate to their deaths. Not now, not never. And to go sue the state of California is a waste of time, and it's disrespectful to the decedents, because you didn't care for them when they were living, Miss Dean. And your family obviously didn't care, because they didn't get the kids for whatever reason, or didn't fight hard enough, or didn't pass whatever they needed to pass. Because in the end, this is your version. This is y'all versions. We don't know what the state has as far as paperwork and documents. You see, that's the gist of the story. This is y'all's version, plural. Let's see what the state has to say about what you did and didn't do in order not to get your children, you and your mama and your baby daddy. And I'm calling a spade in this live. All of you are vowed to me. Because had Miss Dean been living properly, the child's leg would have never gotten broke, child number one. Child number two would have had functioning lungs and not removed by the state. So you're trying to blame everybody but yourself. You need to take accountability that you fucked up and got the state involved in your personal business. And the fact that the state took your children 1 year apart should tell you you are culpable, not the state of California. You, Miss Dean. Because before there was a Jacqueline and Trezell and another foster home and another foster home, you gave birth to those babies and you did wrong by your children, and the state intervened. That's on you. that's on you. And you have 2 other children that you refuse to acknowledge to the public or speak about. And you had ample enough time to sue the state of California for wrongful termination of rights. You wait a day late after hearing that your baby daddy has filed a suit when contacted for DNA for the boys. So all of you are vile in my book because he also didn't attempt to sue the state of California for termination of rights. Before we got news the babies were dead, before they contacted him to let him know they believe the babies are dead. So it was ripple effect. Last fall, you all contact him. He goes and gets a lawyer. And then this year, April, whenever, you find your tail, a lawyer out of San Francisco, to do the same. But you two never thought to sue the state of California years ago when you lost your rights. Why not? You see, you can't fool this queen here. I've been woke because I know your kind and I've been around your kind and I see your kind every day. Passing them by, ear conversation, on the news, it's all the same. And you all are cut from the same cloth. You've never cared for your children and you're looking for somebody to blame and get a payout because you fucked up and kept it moving. And you have not grieved on nothing because your life was going about fine before you even knew that the boys were missing. You were living your best life, Miss Dean, and baby daddy as well, and grandmama and grandpapa. You all ain't gave a thought about Classic and Sincere all these fucking years, because if you cared, you would have sued the state years ago. You're only suing now because information has come out from the state that the boys are dead. And the bio father filed a lawsuit first. And I also think it's interesting that you and the baby daddy are not on the same lawsuit. Why not? Do you two even speak? Is he actually the father of both of your boy children? Because word in the street is that he wasn't even the father of both of the boys. So I'm assuming that the state will try to make sure to have DNA that the baby daddy is actually the father of both children. And that's not to be facetious or nasty, but that came out early on. Since you like staying on social media, well, they talk on social media. And once again, where were you all when the babies needed a home? Where were you all when the living children needed a home? Why didn't you all take in the older son and daughter who now live with their biological fathers? I'll wait. Grandma, grandpa. Why are you all not in contact with the boy child, girl child? I'll wait. Miss Dean, why are you not taking care of the boy and girl? Why do you not have legal custody of your older children? I'll wait. Why are you not telling the public about your older children? I'll wait. Did you tell your lawyer you have 2 older children that you do not take care of, nor provide, nor visit? Call. I'll wait. And how do you think these children are going to feel when they read this content later in life and see you only cared about the dead boys when you found out they were dead, but you didn't give a damn about them before, and you didn't give a damn about these 2 older ones. And you sat idly by and let these children be raised by their biological fathers and never once made an attempt to try to get custody rights of these said older children. You just looking for a payout. And these kids were an easier ticket because they were placed from the state into the care of Jacqueline and Giselle West. How convenient. I want to thank you all for joining me. I don't have anything else to say about this gutter trash because they're disgusting to me. And you all can follow in behind these vile, empty vessels, machines, if you like, and keep following in behind the lies that they've been spewing out here on social media. But the Queen has brought you the truth, that they never cared for their children. Ms. Dean never cared for all 4 of her babies. 2 are currently living, and she has no contact with them. And she and her mother and father are trying to milk the system by getting money off of babies that she got rid of. Because in the end, when you didn't do right by your kids, the state had every right to step in. But they are not mind readers. And I'm sure if they could go back, they would have gladly made a better choice of putting them in another home. But the deal would have still been the same. You don't know the people. If you'd like to donate to the channel and the dream, $Big Angie 129 Cash App. Thank you all so much for following the content, tuning in. God bless all of you. Prayers for Uvalde, those parents out there who are grieving the loss of their children and trying to fight a dirty system out there with the city council and the DPS, the district attorney's office, and the school board. Pray that the school board fires Arredondo as the chief of police of the district police. Pray that they also relinquish his title as city councilman. He doesn't deserve to have either title. And he doesn't deserve to get any benefits from the post of this chief of police of the school district. And he needs to be held accountable criminally. He and any other officer that went to the scene from Uvalde and stood idly by without breaching that door. All of you need to stand account, relinquish from your titles, and also criminally charged. Prayers for the Petito family. Prayers they get justice and a resolution, and they get all monies paid out. And I meant to say, $30,000 ain't no money to sue the Laundries. Go higher. They may not have millions of dollars, but they owe you more than 30 grand. Because in the end, as I've said, pertaining to the Cal City boys and their dusty ass mama and her family, no life has a dollar amount. Not now, not never. So go higher, Petitos. Make them pay. Uvalde parents, make them pay. In the state of California, don't give Ryan Dean and her mom and daddy one fucking dime because they don't deserve nothing. That's my commentary. Thank you for joining.